from China, an acquaintance
Mhm.
of my mother's. They were friends. She came to Israel, and she said, you know, my son, I like to make a shidduch with your daughter. And somehow it worked out okay, you know.
Mhm.
So then they got married, and he went back to America, and she got a visa to go to America
Mhm.
with my mother, because mother and daughter,
Mhm.
you know, priority, you know.
Now, when did your father pass away?
In 1955,
Okay, so he was there for about 6 years.
6 years.
And then this all happened after.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. So your mother went with her daughter to America,
Right, right.
and you were still in
I
Israel?
was still in Israel.
Were you the last one after that?
The last one in Israel. So I was lonely, you know, all my family is
Uh-huh.
in America. And so luckily, the visa for a mother to a son
Mhm.
was very good. You know.
Mhm.
So she applied for me as a mother.
Mhm.
And so I got the visa very fast, you know, 6 months or.
And you went to America, we said the date, but let's say it again, it was in
1962.
1962. All right, you got
I
to...
still had to have a sponsor, so my brother had to sign an affidavit, you know, see how much money he's making, how much money he has in the bank. You know, they really make
Yeah.
sure that, you know, you're not a dependent on the government, you know.
Right, there were a lot of requirements.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And
You
did
have to
you...
take X-rays, you know, to make
To
sure.
make sure you
you're
didn't
not-
have diseases to
Yeah,
be
disease,
and whatever. Now, what did you do for your work when you got to America?
Well, I got a job like as a carpenter, one of
Mhm.
the jobs, you know, and another job was in construction in New York City, and
Wow. Did you work for your brothers at all in the course of this time?
no, well, in Israel before we left, my brother, they were experts on radio repairs, on radios.
Mhm.
So we in Hadera, where we lived, we lived in the outskirts of Hadera. In the main city, we opened a radio store for
Mhm.
repairs of radios. You know,
So you had learned how to repair radios?
yeah, I studied by myself. I had a book, and when I was in the army, I was reading all the things, you know, so
Mhm.
I would be also an expert on radios.
There's a fancy word for you. It's autodidact. It's somebody who teaches themselves.
Right, yeah. I mean, there's no opportunity to go to college because I never went to college. You know, I just finished high school in Shanghai, and that was
And
it.
then you did it on your own. Yeah, you
Yeah.
did it
So
on your own.
anyway, so we opened this radio store, but the red tape is in Israel is so. They used to come to the store and check all the radios once a couple of weeks. If the,
Why?
because some new radios had to have a tag on the back of the radio for the excise tax. If they didn't have it, they would confiscate the radio. You know?
And the excise tax wasn't a small amount, was it?
Yeah, it was very high. Yeah.
Right, right.
For instance, we bought there was no tape recorder at that time.
Mm-hmm.
We had it's called a wire recorder.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first kind of recorders that came out in the early 50s, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's the recording is made on a very thin steel wire instead of a tape.
Mm-hmm.
So like we had that from Shanghai. We said, where's the excise tax on that? We said, we never brought it. we'll have to confiscate it, you know. I mean, it's such red tape.
A lot of bureaucracy.
Oh, my God, you know, this is, you know, that killed everything, you know. This is
Yeah,
my outlook on Israel, you know.
the red tape was very
Oh.
off-putting. So, so you were not unhappy to leave Israel
No,
because of Parnassa, but can I ask you, is there anything after you left Israel that you looked back and said, you know,
Well,
I
mean,
miss this?
We lived in there, and we had a lot of friends,
Mhm.
and we used to go to picnics, you know,
Mhm.
outings, you know. We went to the Canaries, and you know,
Mhm.
that brought back memories, you know.
So you missed the camaraderie, the people.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was nice, you know.
Now you moved to the New York City area, right?
We went to Brooklyn first.
Okay, so there were a lot of also observant Jews.
Oh yeah, there was see, my brother also lived in Brooklyn,
Mm-hmm.
and another had an apartment with my brother in Brooklyn,
Mhm.
but not too close to another brother.
And
And,
where did you wind up going? What kind of synagogue did you wind up going to?
The synagogue was a Sephardic synagogue,
Mm-hmm.
and it was Syrian Jews from Syria,
Mm-hmm.
mainly from Syria.
Okay, so they would be Sephardic, a little different from Iraqi, but
Yeah,
in
it's
the
very
neighborhood.
similar,
The-
very
the-
similar.
the,
So we used to go to this shul.
so you felt comfortable.
Yeah, very comfortable, yeah.
Okay, so and you were.
Well,
and
that's
you-
how my brother met his wife, through somebody in the shul invited him for dinner, Shabbat,
Mhm.
you know, for
Mhm.
Friday night.
Mhm.
And this person had 6 daughters. So,
Pick one.
you know, he got to know one of the daughters,
Mhm.
and he finally married her.
And she was from a Syrian family.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Uh,
So it was okay with the Syrians
Yeah, yeah.
because Iraqi
You know,
Syrian.
years and years ago, when I had a cousin who was from my father's brother's older brother,
Mhm.
and the oldest son, he was going out with a woman, a religious Jewish woman from Russia,
Mhm.
and the father was very angry. You know, how could you do that? You know.
An Ashkenazi person.
Yeah, right. And so I love her, you know.
Yeah.
And so the father said, if you marry her, nobody's going to come to the wedding. So actually, he was like a commander, you know. So he forbade my father and my uncle, the younger uncle, from going to the wedding.
Mm.
So that's what, like, it was almost like marrying a goy, you know.
Yeah, yeah, they're
It
very
was
close.
very disturbing.
So there you were. When and how did you meet your wife?
Well, one of my brothers, one of the sisters of my brother,
The wife.
yeah,
The sisters
wife,
of your brother's wife.
yeah, the sisters of
His
my
sister.
5 sisters. One of the sisters was a counselor in a Jewish camp,
Mm-hmm.
and my wife was there with hers, and they were friendly.
Mm-hmm.
So she asked me, do you want to meet this girl? I said, sure, you know. So she went to Joan, and she said, my brother-in-law is from China. This is China.
You don't look Chinese.
You know, she said, well, you know, she was in a PhD program,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the postdocs came from China, from
Yeah.
Japan, you know, a lot of foreigners.
Mhm.
So she was used to seeing foreigners, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and got friendly with them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so she said, sure, you know. So I called her up, and we went on a date, you know.
Was it love at first sight?
And
Was it love at first
Well,
sight?
it was pretty much so, you know, because she was very, very nice, and she was. I was very concerned for the height, you know. I was small, and she was
Petite.
petite, you know. So that was
A perfect match. One of the pluses.
Pluses, yeah. And then,
And we're going to go on. Sorry.
yeah, well, anyway, so we got married after 3 years because she didn't want to get married right away.
She didn't want to take a chance. Was it to finish her program?
No, she just was scared of getting married. You know.
Oh, so you were how old when you got married?
I was 34, 35.
And she was?
She was 6 years younger.
Okay. And I noticed you got married on April 3rd, 1966.
Right.
And it must have been, my birthday's April 4th, so it was when I was in my junior year. So it must have been before Pesach, right?
Yeah, just before Pesach.
Right.
It was very difficult, you know, but everybody came, even though it was Pesach, and they said it's so busy. They came into the
Right
wedding.
before Pesach.
Yeah, everybody came. It was amazing, you know.
Well, 66, yeah, you know what? That was my senior year, and it must have been the Sunday before Pesach.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Because I know my birthday came out on the first Seder. The next day was the first Seder.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or I think it was
Pesach
next
is
day.
really.
It was very close that year. I remember because I was in my senior year and my birthday's, I remember, and so it was right on top, right before Pesach, probably the last day you could get married for the next 6
And Marty
weeks.
was born just before Pesach also.
Everything happens before Pesach. Speaking of Marty and Joan, we have a wonderful picture that shows Joan just having given birth to Marty in the hospital, and I'm gonna come closer with this picture. You don't have to move your camera, I'm gonna come closer. This is Joan and Marty in the hospital, and Marty was born when?
In Mount Sinai Hospital in New York,
And that was
1969,
okay, 1969. And his date of birth?
April the 2nd.
Everything before Pesach. Now we're going to show another picture a little later of Marty. We'll do the pictures now so we don't forget them. You can hold this. You can close up if you want. This is the grown-up Dr. Marty Jacob with his lovely wife Beverly. And this was not their wedding picture or anything, but at some nice point.
It was just a portrait picture.
Just a portrait picture, beautiful portrait picture. And then I'm going to hold this one up, or you can hold it. We'll just focus on this. A few years ago, this was Sukkot, and you were in Israel? In Israel, and this is Isaac with Marty, Beverly, and his 3 grandsons named?
Zachary, Jeremy, and Donnie.
Right, and Zachary is now off to?
He's in Israel going for a degree in psychology at Bar Ilan University.
And he's how old now?
He's 22, 23.
And the next one is?
He's going to be 20.
His name with the 20?
Jeremy. Yeah.
Jeremy, and Donnie is?
And he's going to be 19.
And they're in school here,
Yeah.
Jewish Day School. Okay, so that's the family. Now, you do have another son named Simcha.
Simcha.
And